Welcome back to the Daily Dose of the Chris McPherson Show. It is time to talk all things Big Bash and Women's Big Bash draft. Only a couple of days ago, the drafts were completed. Squads are taking shape as we head towards season 25-26 for the men's and women's Big Bash. And the competitions are looking absolutely electric in terms of the players that have been picked. Can't wait to pick apart what is coming for you, and it's going to certainly be some Pakistan and fast bowling flavour that dominates when we talk about the men's Big Bash draft. There's plenty to pick apart, but let's talk number one picks, and all that pace of Shaheen Shah Afridi has found its way to the Gabba, probably unsurprisingly, realistically, but it is a great pickup for the Brisbane Heat up there in Queensland. Shaheen Shah Afridi, seam, swing, guile, and electric pace. What a combination in the shortest form of cricket played at that franchise level here in Australia, and we are looking forward to seeing him at the Gabba. He's going to add some serious punch to that Brisbane Heat batting lineup, and we're looking forward to seeing how that kicks out for them. As we progress through, pace was the flavour of the day. The second pick, Harris Rauf, a retention pick, another Pakistani, returns to the Melbourne Stars, so we're looking forward to seeing him in action again for Melbourne. In the green of Melbourne, that is, of course. Luke Wood then was picked up, the first non-Pakistani taken in the draft. He was drafted by the Adelaide Strikers, another one who will add some serious sizzle off the deck for the Strikers down there at the Adelaide Oval. The Melbourne Renegades on the other side of Melbourne decided to switch things up and move from pace to plundering, and they took wicketkeeper batsman Mohammad Rizwan from Pakistan, another absolutely talented but somewhat mercurial player. If we can see the best of Mohammad Rizwan, he could go a long way to determining Melbourne being the dominant franchise, the Renegades, being the dominant franchise in Melbourne. Finn Allen was re-recruited by the Perth Scorchers with pick 5. Chris Jordan returned to the Hobart Hurricanes, both pre-signings, those two. Sam Curran is back in magenta, or pink as you will, as he returns to the Sydney Sixers, and likewise their cross-town rivals, the Sydney Thunder, re-recruited Lockie Ferguson to come into their squad. So a really impressive lineup there when you have a look at it. A lot of pace, a little bit of big hitting as well, and Curran probably the all-rounder in there. Once we went into the second round, there was a bit more of a mixed bag of pieces. Colin Munro went to the Heat. He was a pre-signing. He returns. Jamie Overton back as a pre-signing at the Strikers. Hassan Khan and Shadab Khan from Pakistan go to the Renegades and Thunder, respectively. Two really interesting signings, and looking forward to seeing how they can play out. But the big talking points of the second round came in positions 13 and 14. Position 13, Rishad Hussain, the tall spinner from Bangladesh. He got denied an opportunity to play for the Hobart Hurricanes last year. The no objection certificate that international cricketing boards need to provide for players to play in other countries and be released from their international duties was declined in season 24-25. You'd have to think that Hobart are much more confident this year after having signed him again and brought him through in pick 13. Hopefully lucky for Hurricanes, not unlucky for some. What Hussain can bring to the Big Bash could be absolutely huge. Looking forward to seeing some of these names coming in, as we said, some of these players from the subcontinent, Hassan Khan, Shadab Khan, Rishad Hussain. But the one that I'm really looking forward to seeing, and he was unveiled as a pre-signing by the Sydney Sixers, the men in magenta, Babar Azam. My word, this man is absolutely box office and bums on seats. I like his colleague Mohammad Rizwan. They were a dynamic 1-2 punch for a really good period there for Pakistan. They haven't been as consistent, but Babar's absolute ability to be delivering at the top of the tree is undoubted. And I can't wait to see him lighting up the SCG and some of the other grounds around Australia. If we can see close to a glimpse of the best of Babar Azam, he is just going to add to that already solid and consistent lineup that the Sydney Sixers bring out every season. And it is another part of why I don't doubt that the Sixers will again be a contender in the men's Big Bash in 25-26. The other Curran, Tom Curran, well, he's not the only other Curran, but Tom Curran did get recruited by the Melbourne Stars. So we get a nice little Curran clash, hopefully, when the Stars play the Sixers, and we look forward to seeing how that shapes up. That'll be a good pickup for the Stars alongside Harris Ralph. Perth Scorchers did pass in the second round, a little bit interesting and surprising. But obviously, as you go through the 4 rounds, teams just making choices that suited as needed based on the classes of where players were classified, whether they're platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. We fire through the remaining pickups. Quite a few Englishmen taken in the final round. There was, I think, 6 in total. We had Tom Allsop goes to the Brisbane Heat. David Payne returns to the Perth Scorchers, as does Laurie Evans. These are across the 3rd and 4th round, apologies. Joe Clark heads to the Melbourne Stars. Rayhan Ahmed, an interesting one, going to the Hobart Hurricanes. Not a player we've seen a lot of, but has some high raps, as does Jafar Chauhan, who's gone to the Sydney Sixers. Hassan Ali was picked up by the Adelaide Strikers. Tim Seifert returns as a pre-signed player back to the Melbourne Renegades, as does Sam Billings to the Sydney Thunder. He's been a consistent piece of that men's lineup so far, and we look forward to seeing what he can continue to deliver for the men in lime green. As for the women's Big Bash draft, certainly a couple of queried suggestions and selections, but mostly going to script. Sophia Dunkley, the English star, was the number 1 pick taken by the Sydney Sixers, which did open up an opportunity for Sophie Eccleston to go on the move with pick 2. She heads to the Adelaide Strikers, the English solid veteran in terms of what she's delivered in the Big Bash. We know she's been good for the Sixers, but again, kind of in a congested lineup there. They're obviously looking for something a little bit different. Indian star Jemima Rodriguez was retained by the Brisbane Heat. Denny White-Hodge also retained by the Hobart Hurricanes. No surprises there. The Melbourne Stars made moves with Amy Jones being brought in, the English player. Heather Knight retained again at the Sydney Thunder. Deandra Dotton retained at the Melbourne Renegades in the opening round. And then Sophie Devine was a pre-signed player, the Kiwi superstar, coming in for the Scorchers again over in the West. Some other talking points: Amelia Kerr signing with the Sydney Sixers, Marizanne Kapp at the Melbourne Stars. No real surprise there. Laura Woolvart and Chamari Adapadu going to the Strikers and Thunder, respectively, all pre-signings. Chanel Henry's an interesting one. She's gone to the Brisbane Heat, so we'll see what she can deliver there. Melbourne Renegades only made 2 picks, and as I touched on, they retained Deandra Dotton and brought in Alice Capsey. The big one, Paige Schofield, though, was an interesting one for the Perth Scorchers. Not a player with a lot of T20 pedigree, but the Perth Scorchers franchise seemed to see something in her and said as much when talked about after the draft. So she'll be an interesting name to watch to see. She was taken as a gold selection, surprisingly for some. The Sydney Thunder brought in Shabnim Ismail, which meant that they did leave on the table Lauren Bell, their former pace bowler, which was, again, a bit surprising for some, but at the end of the day, you can't fit everyone into your 3 picks. Nadine de Klerk, another pre-signing, taken by the Brisbane Heat, the South African star. So, yeah, certainly looking forward to that. And Chloe Try, on the other South African, heading to the Perth Scorchers. So, a bit of a mixed bag. It'll be interesting to see how it does all shape up. It'll be interesting to see who's got it right, who's left that key talent on the table, and are there going to be teams that are going to be scrambling for mid-season replacements with some of these internationals departing at the end of the respective seasons? Let us know in the comments. Hit subscribe, and remember, whether it's swing, spin, or straight-up selection shockers, the Daily Dose has you covered. Until next time, keep your front pad outside off and watch out to make sure no one firmly takes your middle stump. We look forward to catching up with you on the Daily Dose again soon.